Okay, ladies, we're going to jump into Adobe Illustrator. We're going to do a quick little review of some of the things that we learned the last time we worked with it, and then you're going to get started on your own unique artwork today. So let's start out with just opening Adobe. You're going to go down to your docking station. You're going to click the AI icon for Adobe Illustrator. Now, in case that's ever not there, what you would just do is go to Finder and go to Applications, and you would go find your program here. So you can see that I have all my Adobe works in here. So if it's ever not in the docking station, you can still get it. You would go to the Adobe suite and you would open it up. You'd see it and then open. So let's close this out. And then once you have Adobe open, your screen might not look like mine. You might get a different kind of opening screen. Don't stress out, it's totally fine. No matter what you do, you can always go to File and New. Oops, let's actually click on Illustrator. You go File, New, and you might actually get this kind of window when you open Illustrator. If you do, just go right on in to title in your artwork. We're going to title this one Your Initials plus the word Asymmetry. And then we want this one to be in inches, so make sure you change the mode first. If it's not on inches, it should be on inches. You want your width to be 5, you want your height to be 5, and you want your colors to be CMYK. And hit create. And I'm going to use my fingers to zoom out a little bit so I can see my whole artboard. And let's just do a quick review of the interface. So on the left we have the toolbar. It could be a single column, it could be a double column, either one is fine. Up here most of you will probably have your options bar. Some of you will have your options over here on the right. Up here we have the menu bar. And then everyone has their window options, and some of you again have your other options over here. Now, if you want to open a tool does not already have an icon over here, and you go to Window, you can click on it, you can open it up. You can actually, once you open it, it shows you which icon it was. So let's just do a quick review of our tools. We have our Shape tool. So if I click on that, I can make a rectangle. If I want to make a different shape, I hold down that little white dot and I go to other shapes. I can make those. If I want a shape to be perfect, then I hold Shift on my keyboard and that'll see how this circle is always perfect? If I do that with a rectangle, it'll make it a perfect square. If I hold down Shift, see how it doesn't change proportions? If I let go of Shift, it can be skinny, it can be long. So if I want to select all of my shapes, or if I want to do anything else to change them, then I have to get out of this Shape tool. Because until I tell Adobe I no longer want to make a shape, it's going to keep having me make shapes. So if I click V on my keyboard, or click on my selection arrow, I get my little black selection arrow. If I draw selection over everything, I can then change them all at once. So I'm going to want the fill here to be see-through, and I can see all my shapes. And then a little review, if I want to unite my shapes with the shape builder, then I want to use this tool. But again, until I tell Adobe which shapes I want to unite, it won't let me do anything. So if I just click on this little shape builder tool, I'm going to get a no icon. So I'm not allowed to do anything right now. So I'm going to first select all the shapes that I want to be able to unite. Then I'll click on my shape builder and I'll start drawing lines through my shapes. Now you don't have to do all this. This is really just a review of what we've done. And if I hold down the Option key, I can delete stuff. So I have a very customized shape. And if I want to make it a color, I select it. And you'll notice if I click on the inside of my shape, it doesn't let me select it. I have to actually click on a line because Adobe does want me to be pretty specific. And then I can click over here, pick a color, it'll change it. Maybe I want the stroke to be invisible, so I make that the white. And there you go. Beautiful little thing. So what you're going to do for your first project is, I'll also just review the brush tool. Now, The brush tool, if you noticed, I had on this shape, I had a see-through stroke and a pink fill. But when I started using my brush, it changed it. So what happened was it made my pink the stroke and my fill see-through. If you want your brush, whatever color you want your brush to be, it actually has to be the stroke. Because if you think about it, the stroke is really like, it's like a paint stroke. So that's going to be the color. So I have to change my stroke, not my fill, if I want a different color. And if I want to change the opacity, I would go to my options bar, either up here or to the right. I would change my opacity. And if you're trying to figure out where your options bar is, if you have some of these windows open, you want to look for the one that says Properties. If you click on the tab that says, like these are the tabs, if you click on the tab that says Property, then you can switch up your options. So now when I paint, it'll automatically change the opacity, which is a really nice effect. If I want to change the size of the paintbrush, I can do two things. I can either go up here to the stroke size, make it larger, and that's so large, I actually don't want it to be that large, so I'll hit Command Z, and that is an undo. So if I hold down Command and hit Z, it'll undo my most recent action. So I want to just make the size different, but I don't want to have to keep clicking all those. I don't see how it didn't change up here. What I'm doing is if I look at my keyboard and I see the letter P, next letter P are the two brackets. If you click on the left bracket, which I just did, makes your stroke a little bigger. If you click on the right bracket, I'm not sure if you can hear me clicking. Whoa, oops, sorry. The right makes it bigger, the left makes it smaller. Let me click on this one. Some of you, when you click on your bracket, might get a visible circle, and mine stopped doing that. So if you get the visible circle, it's really helpful. It can also you can always go up here and change it to something super thin. So brush tool, shape tool. We're not going to use the pen tool, so I don't want you to play around with that one just yet. You can use the pencil tool if you want to, and you can dig around into these tools and find other stuff. One thing that people often click by accident, because it's next to the shape builder, is this perspective grid tool. So if you click on this, and even if you hit Command Z, it won't take that off. So since it happens so often, the way you fix this is a view issue. I'm viewing something that I don't want to see. So if I go to View, I can go to Perspective Grid, and I can say Hide Grid, just like that. What you're going to do, and let me just delete all this stuff. So I'm going to hit Selection. I'm going to draw a selection over everything. I'm going to hit Delete. As you make your artwork for this, I want you to make a full scene of something. And I want you to use layers. We did not really use that tool a whole lot the other day. But over here you can see you have your layers icon. If it's not there, again, you go to Window, you click on Layers, and what you're going to do is you're going to make a few layers. See how I had to drag my little box up so I can see the bottom? You can adjust the sizes of these little dialog boxes to be what you want. But I want to have a couple layers. And the way Adobe works is whatever's on layer 1 will be at the bottom. Whatever's layer on 2 will be on top of it. So I'm going to click on layer 1. I'm going to double click on the word. And I'm going to write background. And here, let's say I want a blue background. You can make your background anything you want. I'm going to make this one blue. And see right now it's see-through with a pink stroke. So all I have to do is make the stroke see-through. Click on the fill. Let's pick some kind of light blue. And after that, I'm going to lock the background layer by clicking on this empty space between the eye and the color. Now it's locked. Now I go to layer 2. If you get a no sign that says you can't do something, it's probably because your layer is locked and you're trying to work on it. So if I get a no icon, that's what's happening. Let me go to layer 2, and I'm on the shape tool, so I can go ahead and make shapes. I can draw, I can paint, and I want you to try and make a full scene of artwork. You can make a city scene, a beach scene. You can make a still life setup. You can make a portrait of someone, but you want to go for asymmetry. And like we said in the presentation, asymmetry is something that's very different. So your left side should be very different from your right side. If you do something like this, let me put a little box in here. Let me make that black, and let me make some little windows. Oops. Make a couple of yellow windows. And you'll see these little magenta lines. So I'm just going to take this one rectangle here. I'm going to hit Command Copy, Command V. And if I keep hitting Command V, I just made a bunch of copies. And now I can fill my building with windows and see how those magenta lines tell me when they're lined up. That's super helpful. If you don't have magenta lines visible, let me know and I'll show you how to turn them on. You have to go to Illustrator, Preferences. You'd have to go into here to Smart Guides. But most of you should have them on as default. So as you work in Adobe, think about how you can make things easier yourself. Copy paste can be really helpful if you have a repeating element. But just to reiterate, if you have, let's just get rid of this guy because he's the only one. If you have something like this, where if you divide down the middle, it's pretty similar, that's not pushing your asymmetry. You want your left side and your right side to be very different. So if I take this over, if I move all these over, and then if over here I make a little car, let's make this a really thin stroke. Let's make the stroke black. Now this is not a good artwork, but it's serving the purpose of demonstrating asymmetry. Here's a little car. Yikes. Now, this isn't good, but it is asymmetry because it has something over here that is very different than the right side. Now, even though it's different, it's still not balanced. You'd want to work on this a little bit more to make it look good, but that is the idea of asymmetry. So have your two sides very different. One lesson, since it just happened on my computer, is if you make something with your brush or your pencil, and you see that after you let go of your mouse, Adobe softens it, it's because there's, let's go in here. If I double click on the icon and I get paintbrush tool options, I have even more options on the option bar. Adobe has no shortage of options. See how there's a smooth and accurate? Over here is smooth, there's accurate. If I take that scale and make it smooth, then whatever I do here, Adobe's really gonna try and smooth out. So if you have a wobbly hand, this can be helpful. If you want Adobe to do exactly what you're doing, then you make it accurate. And if you look now, Adobe barely changed what I did. So that's your little introduction, or rather reintroduction to Adobe. I want you to work on different layers. So after you have your background, you can move these around as you want. But it will be really helpful is after you make something that you're confident about that you want to keep. Say I'm going to actually get rid of all this jazz. This is no good. I'm going to hit delete. But I have my building. I want to keep it. I'm going to hit lock, go to layer 3, start my new thing. So that's your reintroduction to Adobe. Do me a favor and just try and problem solve stuff as it arises. Something's different than what this tutorial was. If your computer's different, don't stress about it. I'm sure you can figure it out. I don't want your hand to go up right away when you encounter an issue. I want you to try and think about what happened, how can you work through it, and I want you to also ask some classmates and see if they can help you. Because sometimes your classmates have a lot of information and they can really be a good resource. And then if you still can't get through it, then obviously ask me. Okay, I'll talk to you ladies soon.